Hey everybody, Andrew Krause, co-founder here. We had a little problem with the stream, so I relaunched. It's going to take a while for everybody to come in. Um, let's see. Let's see if it works this time. So, what we're all about here at inventRight is licensing your products to large companies. You could be a medium-sized, small company too, but when you license to a big company, you essentially are that big company. So you don't need money, you don't need employees, you don't need distribution. When you license to a big company, you are that company and you don't need all those things. So let me type in, oh, there we go. People are starting to come in. Yeah, we had a little glitch there, so we'll probably have a smaller crowd this time. But if you guys could start typing in your questions, I'm going to type that in here. Okay. Apparently the stream wasn't made public, so that's why we're a little bit late here. So great thing about licensing, don't need to start a business. Anybody can do this. We've had students that um, have no business background, tremendous business background, a housewife, an astrophysicist. Licensing is not a difficult thing. Now, the beautiful thing about licensing and the way that we teach it is you don't need to be a sales schmuck. Now, you do need to reach out. And when you reach out, your marketing materials are going to do the selling for you. That's a big crux of the InventRight approach. So if people are like, oh, I'm an engineer, I could never do sales. Well, you don't have to with licensing. When you make a sell sheet or a short video, most of our students do a sell sheet, and it's a one-page advertisement for your product. That's going to do the selling for you. So you're asking permission to a particular person, usually a marketing manager within a company, to send that sell sheet. And that's what you're asking for. You're asking to do that via LinkedIn, via email, or via the phone. So today, what we're going to share with you guys is how to do licensing, how to sell your products without starting a business. Okay, without spending $20,000 on a patent, without spending $10,000 on a prototype, without spending a lot of money and a lot of time. Now, just because I'm saying you don't need to spend a lot of money and time doesn't mean you don't need to do any work. Now, when you license, you're dumping all that responsibility off onto that large company. The responsibility is not yours, it's that large company's. So that's a beautiful thing, but you have to do that deal with that one company. You might reach out to 30 companies, 28 aren't interested, 2 show some interest, 1 drops off, you do a deal with the other. But guess what? Those 30 that you reached out to, let's say it's a kitchen gadget. You got another kitchen gadget, you got their email, you got their contact info, you're going to send it again. So one of the things that I think a lot of people that are new to this don't understand is every time somebody says no to you, you utilize that first product to make the relationship. And if they said yes to receiving the idea, they're probably going to receive more ideas. So you didn't get rejected, you made a relationship. So there's a lot of things. We set the stage to reset your mindset so you can license products the rest of your life. So I'm glad that everybody could join. We had a little glitch there where the stream wasn't public. I think that was probably my fault. So I had to relaunch a new stream, which I guess wasn't prior publicized. So probably have a smaller group today. But if you guys could start typing in some questions, that would be great. I see my 2 cents is here. Robert, I think, is a regular too, and a whole bunch of other people. So let's start getting those questions coming in. So what are you going to get today? You're going to get answers to your questions. If you have a recorded YouTube video, you can't ask a question and get it answered. You can ask a question in the comments, of course, and we get to a lot of those. But you're going to get a way more in-depth answer during this live stream. So you're attending this live stream to get answers. And you don't even have to ask a question. If you listen to somebody else's question and my answer, quite often it'll help you. Oh, damn, yeah, I was wondering that too. So if you guys want to start typing in your questions, that would be fantastic. My name is Andrew Krause. I'm one of the co-founders here at InventRight. We have been guiding, coaching, and mentoring inventors for the last 23 years, and we've had students in over 65 countries. And yeah, some of those countries are small. Like I remember this woman on this French Polynesian island, and so that counts. And but pretty cool because you can do this from anywhere. You can do licensing from anywhere. As long as you have an internet connection, you don't even really need a phone because you have an internet connection these days. You have a phone. You could use Skype to call a phone number or something. So if you have an internet connection, you can be anywhere, and the companies do not care where you're from. We've had students in so many different countries, and a lot of inventors that are concerned about that. Well, I'm in Africa, or I'm here, or I'm there. Would they take me seriously? Yes, I'm here to tell you they will take you seriously. Lynn typed in, a company showing interest and wants to draw up some concepts before starting negotiations. They want to take 60 days. Okay. They want to drop some concepts before starting negotiations. They want to take 60 days. Is this normal? Um, it's not really normal that a company would tell you we want to take 60 days. That's very odd. That's very, something's a little weird there. I literally, in the 23 years, I've never had a company go, we need 60 days. I like that they're that direct. It might be legit. I mean, they want to drop some concepts. So, you know, my question to you, Lynn, is didn't you have a concept? Didn't you show something? Did you show them something really crude where they need to go back to the drawing board and hey, if they're willing to work with you there, that's great. And hey, if they need 60 days, that's fine too. But kind of unusual that a company would tell you we need 60 days. Does it take 60 days or longer? Yes, almost always it does. But is that normal? What your question was? Not really. It's not really, but I wouldn't be too concerned about it. If that company has major distribution at retailers where you want to be, they're a company you should work with because you license to companies like, so let's say you had a kitchen gadget and that you notice that company, they're in Walmart and they're in Bed Bath and Beyond and William and Sonoma. Well, sometimes people go, well, do I need to look up what the dollar figures they do, how many employees they have? No, I don't think you do need to do that early on. If they're in those major stores, that is all the qualifier you need to know that they're a company that would be worth licensing to. Yeah, you get more in depth with them, and once the ones that show interest. So let's say you reach out to 30 companies. Are you going to research all 30 companies, like how many employees they have, how much business do they do a year? Hell no. If they're in those major stores, that's all you're going to research, in my opinion. You can research more if you want. Then you do more thorough research once you get interest from a particular company or two. But for them to say, we want to drop some sketches and specifically say, we need 60 days, Lynn, I don't think that's normal, but that's okay. Weird little stuff happens all the time. My question to you is, are they in major retailers where you want to be? If the answer is yes, that's all good. I would stay close to them. So when they want to sketch up concepts, like what concepts? So ask them, and also I wonder what you sent, Lynn, if later you can email or you can, send a text through the stream here, a message, a chat, whatever the hell you call it, and tell me what you initially sent. I wonder if what you sent was so crude that that's why they need to go back and do this stuff. I don't know. My 2 cents, I've been struggling to get my idea to work as a prototype. This weekend, I got the prototype to work perfectly, which is really exciting. Yes, that is really exciting. Now, you don't always need to do that. Now, sometimes you do. And, my 2 cents was struggling with it, figured it out, got it to work right. Okay. But if you're fair, what some people struggle with something maybe a little bit different than what you were struggling with. My 2 cents is their handle. Sometimes people feel like they need this beautiful production ready prototype or prototype at all. When a lot of times you can just, anybody looking at the product would go, like the company would look at it and go, oh yeah, I see what you did there. We can do that. Right. Now, as an inventor, you're creative, you can think stuff up, but you don't necessarily have the skills to put something together. There is no rule that says you have to do that. And our students do use virtual prototypes. So yeah, there's something to look at in the marketing piece all day long. Our students license stuff that they never had a prototype on. Now, am I telling my 2 cents you shouldn't have messed around with that prototype? No, I'm not saying that at all. He's struggling with it, messed around with it, proved to himself that it would work this way. The question is, did he know that they could make it, or did he need to play around with the prototype to prove to himself that it would work? You know, and he needed to go, oh, I'm going to do it this way instead of that way. Oh, that works great. So sometimes that's fantastic. But this perception that you need to go out and spend a ton of money with a patent and then you need to have this beautiful working prototype every time or a prototype at all, These are great grand misperceptions that a lot of people have about licensing. You need to be careful of. 3D House, Andrew, considering the IP theft that commonly takes place in the Chinese market, would you stop up a Chinese manufacturer, even if it is a very well-known global company? So maybe, but I'll tell you when I would and when I wouldn't. Most of the time, I wouldn't. I remember we had two different students, and they were within like 2 or 3 months of each other. It was kind of a trip that licensed two Chinese companies, and it worked out beautifully for them. But here's the qualifier. So we are truly international. So the first company that was licensed to was by one of our students. He was in Israel, and he came up with an entirely new type of a toilet. Can you believe that? A new type of toilet. Now he licensed it to this Chinese company, but that Chinese company wasn't on Alibaba and here, there, and just in China or something like that. That Chinese company had product in Home Depot. Okay. They had a relationship with Home Depot. They had product and they were selling product in Home Depot. So that is a major exception. Then I think I forget which one came first, another 2 or 3 months later, because this is not common. It's very rare that we have students licensing to Chinese companies, but he was a French Canadian, so that's more, see how geographically knowledgeable I am. He's more on the east coast of Canada, but he actually lived in the Yukon on the west coast, which is more up by Alaska. Hopefully, I'm right on that. Um, and and so it's just showing the international nature of what we do. So he's a French Canadian living in the Yukon, and he licensed to a Chinese company a whole line of camping products. So he showed him one. Now, again, this Chinese company is making camping products, had distribution at retail, major retail stores. Okay. He showed him one. They said, what else you got? What else you got? What else you got? He licensed the whole line. I forget what it ended up being. It was like somewhere between 8 and 14 products or something like that. But now these two Chinese companies were an exception. They were manufacturers that would distribute and market product in the US. That's not most Chinese companies. Now, there's a bunch of them that are on Amazon right now. I mean, Chinese companies just dump all sorts of crap on Amazon. There's a big difference between being a major retailer, especially when these were done. These were, God, I think like 3 or 4 years ago. This is a while back. So, but by and large, I would not recommend reaching out to Chinese companies. But the time I would make an exception is if they have a brand, right? Both these companies have brands and they have distribution in major US retailers. Then I think that's getting a heck of a lot safer. But if they're just dumping stuff on Amazon, that's a whole different scenario. Okay, so hopefully that was helpful. 3D House is their handle. Leon said, I've been pitching to 50 companies and no one is showing interest and at a standstill. Okay. So what are some common reasons? So why are you at a standstill? So, and no one is showing interest. So here are the questions, which you can type in, Leon, if you want to, but it's really not necessary. How many of those 50 companies are not getting back to you? How many of them have said no? How many of them have you gotten feedback from? So let's say you got these 50 companies and 25 said no, and then the other 25, you messaged them just once and they haven't got back to you. That's a mistake. You need to reach out to most companies 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. LinkedIn, email, phone, try every avenue possible. So, Leon, I pretty much guarantee if you're not an InventRight student, you probably didn't get no's from all 50. Maybe you did. That's great. Good on you if you got to that point. You've probably got ones that aren't responding, so keep reaching out. From the ones that gotten back to you, you should try to get some feedback. Like maybe your sell sheet sucks. I'm very blatant here. I don't mind saying that. When we have new InventRight students that come on board at InventRight and become coaching students of ours, 95% of the sell sheets are not good enough. I would say about 5% are good enough, and another 5% are okay, and 90% of them, it's like you need to fix this. You're not going to get interest with this sell sheet. You're making them think. They need to understand your product in like 6 seconds. If they don't get your product like that, you're toast. They don't have time for it. Long rambling emails. So what you're saying in the email, Leon, maybe the product's not making sense. Maybe just the product makes lots of sense, but the marketing's not making sense. Maybe you're not reaching out enough. Maybe you're not reaching out to the right people. I mean, the list is like endless on why this might not be working for you. But good on you that what is Leon doing right that I know, because we haven't had a personal conversation. He's got 50 companies. I don't know if they're the right companies, but good on him for making a list of 50 companies. Most inventors never do that. They make a list of like 1 to 3 companies and they think that's their list. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? So he's definitely doing that right. The question is he doing the other stuff right? So hopefully that gives some people some perspective. Let's see. I lost my place. Where did I go? Wow. Where did I go? Okay, there we go. Michelle. A president is shown interest and asked me to remove my contact info on my sell sheet so they can show it to select people to see if they want to go forward with it. Is this normal? In 23 years, again, I've never, now I used to be our only coach back in the day. Now we got like 13 coaches. And so I'm not in the day-to-day with the coaches, but I can't ever recall a company asking a student to remove the contact info so they could see the sell sheet. I bet some of them do it. I don't see anything wrong with that whatsoever. I don't think companies should be concerned about it, but I think it could I bet they do it all the time. I just don't remember a student ever telling me that. I bet they tell some of our coaches that. Because then if they leave the sell sheet with the buyer at a retailer, let's say, and now they're calling back the wrong person, makes total sense to remove it. I wouldn't be concerned about that for a millisecond, Michelle. I just don't get too many questions that I've never gotten before. Doesn't mean our coaches aren't getting that question, but it's an interesting question. But I assume they remove that frequently. I think the thing that was unusual is they just do it. Like if you're okay with them showing it, they just do it. They don't ask. I think the thing that was a little different in your situation, Michelle, is they're just kind of a cool company and they're asking you if that's okay. Instead of just saying, is it okay to show this to some buyers and just removing the contact info, they're saying, is it okay? Is it okay we remove the contact info? I think that is what was a little bit different here. I'm not at all concerned about that. Hell yeah. You want them to show it. So that buyer at a retailer shows a lot of interest. And then your marketing manager you're talking to is like, oh, we're getting some traction here. Maybe we want to license this thing. So I think that's fantastic. Alexander, hi, Andrew. I have 4 ideas, just ideas, no prototype. I'm afraid someone will steal the ideas. My question is, can an idea be licensed and can your company guide me at this stage? So yes, we can definitely guide you. We've guided people from just having a thought in your head to, hey, I filed 5 patents and I've got this beautiful working prototype and everything in between. So we can definitely help you. We're going to make it work though. We're going to make you reach out to companies. We're going to make you file a provisional patent using our smart IP software, make a nice big list of companies of 20, 30, not 2 or 3. Do a kick-ass marketing piece, which your coach will help you with. And then our negotiation coach will help you through the deal. So we can definitely help you. But we need to get you also over your fear of having your ideas stolen. So let's address that really quickly, which we address on pretty much every one of these calls. Few things. When you're sending emails to a company, you're creating a paper trail. So that's one method of protection. Another method you're going to employ is a provisional patent application. So that's going to let you say patent pending legally, and it's only going to cost you $75. Now, our negotiation coach just let me know last week, which I was surprised by, that they reduced the cost of a provisional patent from, I haven't checked it myself, but I trust our negotiation coach, from $75 to $60. That's pretty cool. $15, big deal. But now it's $60. So I've always been saying $75. I got to remember that. But so for $60, you can legally say patent pending for an entire year. Now it's not a patent. It's a provisional patent application. You need to later file a full utility and then reference the provisional to get that filing date. But it gives you a whole year to legally say patent pending. You don't even need to say provisional patent pending. You can say patent pending. Fine. So it creates this perceived protection. You're creating an email paper trail. That's the second form of protection. The third form of protection, the reason why I haven't seen one of our students that I'm aware of get knocked off by a company they presented to in 23 years, is conducting yourself professionally, not saying crazy shit. I'm going to swear just to get your attention. Hopefully there's no kids listening. So, I want a 500,000 up front, or I want 50% of the profit, or whatever crazy, all the crazy crap that inventors say when they're new. So, but if you conduct yourself professionally, they know you're asking smart questions and they don't want to mess with you. But that 3 or 4% of companies, I'm guesstimating that's what it is, that might mess with you, won't mess with you. They might with that wacky inventor from a year ago, but they won't mess with you because you're asking smart questions. Okay. So, conducting yourself professionally, creating an email paper trail, filing a provisional patent application. Those are three major forms of protection, Alexander, and then we can guide you through the process. So if you're interested, you can go to InventRight, click on coaching. Sorry, go to InventRight, click on contact us, and you can book a call with Sylvia or Dana. They're both super friendly. If you're just interested, they'll never hound you. We're really, really chill. The other resource you guys should check out is our free resources. So go to our free resources button. There's a big button in the upper right hand left hand corner of our website. If you're on the web, it's a little bit different, but you can find that and check out those free resources. Lynn expanded. Yes, they're a division of a major company, lots of distribution. I didn't send my sell sheet and prototype, but I think they need to see how my concept would work with their products. Okay. I think that's great, Lynn. Big company. They want to do some sketching and some thinking about the product. I would try to stay involved with that process. So just ask them what the next step is. It sounds like they told you it'll take up 60 days and we want to do some sketches and things, and say basically just offer help. I'm here if you want to run some things by me. I may be able to expand on some of your concepts that you come up with, et cetera, et cetera. Let's see. Ethan, hello, Andrew. I hope you're doing well. Do you mind talking a bit about the new youth program on the website? Thanks in advance. So we've had a program for quite some time called Invent Yes for junior high kids. And if you're interested, you can click on that on our website, and we'll send you some more information. So it's basically free. There's some videos we share for kids that helps out, but you need to verify you're a high school student or a junior high student to qualify. So that's our way. Stephen and myself and the whole team at InventRight, we've been supporting inventor associations and schools. We've done a lot of presentations to schools over the last 23 years. And I really truly believe that licensing is the wave of the future. And if some of these, I'm sure a lot of you, if you could know about licensing as an opportunity sooner rather than later, I mean, some of you maybe 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, and you're like, damn, I wish I knew about this when I was a teenager. I was very creative. So we're trying to do our best to help kids. That's basically what it is. Their handle is Don't Touch Me, which is always a funny handle. I laugh every time I see it. Hi, Andrew. Is a sell sheet confidential material? I have a medical device. 2 companies asked me to file online, but not to share confidential information until instructed. Yeah, I mean, if you share your product, what they're basically saying is, look, I don't know them, what they're thinking, but patent application, or students are like, I'm ready to show it. Now, the question is, are they ready to see it? If they're like, hey, we're not agreeing to keep this confidential, that's very normal, and you filed your provisional patent application, so you've got that stakeholder in the sand, I wouldn't worry about it. But the question is, do they want to see the actual invention itself? How can you share the invention without sharing your sell sheet? Whenever I see a website where the company is like, describe your invention, I'm like, oh my God, this is a nightmare. This is like, how could they possibly really get excited about your product when you're just describing, writing out your invention? You need a marketing piece, 8.5 by 11 PDF that you can email. So the question is, I would just ask them, look, I've filed a provisional patent application. I'd like to send you my sell sheet so you can let me know if you're interested in the product. I don't mind if it's not confidential. I'm protected. I have patent. You don't have to say a provisional patent. I have patent pending status. I'm okay with sending it to you. So just ask. So have a conversation. Free Space says, thanks for being straight with us, Andrew. You're welcome. We're very straight to the point here in InventRight. 3D House, thank you, Andrew, for your response. Very helpful. The company is Hayer. Wow, that's a big company. Bathroom Fixtures, G Appliance is a subsidiary of them. Yeah, that's a really big company. Let me get back to what we were talking about before. Oh, do you personally shop a product to a Chinese manufacturer? Yeah, to me, if it's a large Chinese company, if it's a large European company or Australian company, and they're really big in the US, like Hayer, they're freaking huge. That's the same as an American company to me. Because if they have headquarters here or they have offices here, yeah, I wouldn't hesitate to work with them. They're a very, very large company, Haier. And their subsidiary G Appliances. No, so don't worry. I wouldn't worry about that. And again, anything I share today should not be considered legal advice. Please consult an attorney for legal advice. That's my disclaimer. As soon as I do anything quasi-legal, I always say that. Colton says, "Hi, Andrew. My product is in the taxidermy industry." Well, that's interesting. As is pending. The product system that I'm trying to license requires several manufacturers to deliver the end result. What is the best approach? That sounds difficult. So sometimes I get people that, you're creative, but you're like, oh, well, you got to take this company over here and this company over here, and you got to get them to agree on this, and then they're going to invent this thing and launch it together. And I'm like, oh God, but then sometimes I look at it and I'm like, oh, here's how we can make this work. But to try to get several companies together or even three companies together, that's going to be very, very difficult. You just get these different companies together that don't work together. The thing is, though, when I talk to some of our students that think they need that, when I take a deeper dive, I'm like, no, you can get around that. Do it this way instead. But if you had to do that, that's going to be a tough one. And you got to kind of wonder. So what some people do when they're new to licensing is they go, well, I just want to license this one company. And I go, you should never be working on a project for one company. If you said, I want to license one company, this is my favorite, and I've got 10 others over here, I'd say, great. But really, one company, so, and then if you want to say, well, my only combination is I've got to get this one company and this one company, and they got to agree, and then I'll license to them both, and then they'll move forward together. Good luck. Not saying it's not possible. Not saying it's not possible, but very, very difficult. But Colton, I don't know the details. In your particular situation, it may make total sense. So and when you shouldn't do anything publicly on the stream. So Informed Info says, hey, for a beverage recipe, should a trade secret law be sufficient for protection? Yeah. So, beverages, that's kind of hard, but you can definitely license it. But yeah, it's kind of a trade secret. So you're not going to tell them. What I've always found weird about food is you want them to taste it, right? You can show them the marketing, show them they're going to market it, but you got to convince a stranger to eat something, one stranger convincing the other to drink it, right? So you want to be very professional so they're not freaked out about drinking if they show some interest, drinking some drink from some random inventor and God knows what you put in it, right? But you're right, a trade secret can be a major form of protection. So it's basically like you're just not going to tell them what's like, oh my God, this is amazing. Now here's the big difference. You've figured out how to make this beverage at home with natural ingredients, but as is most, food manufacturers these days, they just love to go with the unnatural ingredients, right? So some of the companies will be like, okay, yeah, but we got to formulate this to get the same taste, but with artificial ingredients. Or maybe they want to do it naturally. But so don't assume that what you did with a food product on a small scale would work on a large scale. But you're at least intriguing them with the flavor, the taste, the marketing, etc. So you can definitely license a beverage product. I'd say it's a little easier with the smaller companies. Thinking you're going to license to like a Coca-Cola, like good luck. They're just too damn big. But there's a lot of smaller beverage companies these days that are way warm and fuzzy, small family, but pretty big business companies. And so I think it's doable. It definitely is. Um, OA, what if I come up with an idea that actually hasn't been made before, a totally new idea? If I had a penny for every time somebody said that, I'd be a bazillionaire. Um, so it hasn't been made before. Yeah, that's every product our student licenses hasn't been made before. Now, maybe something somewhat similar has been made before, but you got a slight point of difference with it. Um, so I mean, why are we concerned about that? A totally new idea. I think inventors, by and large, have this. It's a there's nothing like it mentality. So you never want to say it's a totally new idea or there's nothing like it or we're going to make millions or any of that ever to a potential licensee. Instead, you want to show them your marketing. You want to intrigue them with the marketing. Go, oh, if my customers saw this, they would want to buy that. That's what you want to do. So never say there's nothing like it. This has never been done before. Never, ever use those words with a marketing manager. They'll be like, oh my God, I don't hear this again. Instantly, it screams green inventor. Show them the marketing, show them with the marketing that it's new and different and has a point of difference. Okay. So OA, really great question. If it has a benefit and you believe that people would buy it and you believe it fits in right with the company's product line, you're good to go, man. Go for it. Go for it. Ethan said, I did the Invent Yes program a couple years ago. Said something about a new program with the time teacher of the year during an academy call. Is that the same thing? Yes, we're kind of stepping up the Invent Yes program, Ethan. And we're going to be doing some teaching, I think, starting around the middle of January 15th, 20th, something like that. So if you go on the InventRight site and you find, I believe it's down on the homepage, you can pretty easily find it, and you sign up for that, you should get notified of that new program where we're kind of doing. I don't know if that's Steven's. I haven't talked to Steven about that. I don't know if that's his intention. So just sign up for that there and see whatever autoresponder, whatever we have. If nothing happens there, email me at Andrew@inventRight, and I'll forward it to Steven and let him know, and we'll go from there. Royal Photography said, is it smart to produce the item yourself and just have a patent pending? Most of the time, it's a mistake for most inventors. Is it a mistake for everybody? No. If you want to run a business, if you are ready to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars and dump your day job, then starting a product and selling it yourself can be something to do. Here's the major problem. Retailers don't want to talk to you. They want to talk to that company that they already have 5, 10, 15, 20, 50 products in their store with already. That big company to. You as a one SKU, one product company, they're worried you're going to deliver on time, you're going to run out of cash flow, you're going to make all sorts of mistakes. They don't got time for that. Okay. So they would rather license to a big company. So if you license to a big company, you're receiving a royalty, they want to deal with those companies. But if you're young and you can get somebody to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars just to barely get started, that will barely get you started on a serious level. I'm not saying you can't like sell something on Etsy or on Craigslist or something, but that's not what most inventors have in mind. When you're licensing, you can have delusions of grandeur and you're not delusional because that really big company can do really big things. But on your own, people way underestimate the amount of money it takes, the amount of time. I mean, you're talking 50 to 70-hour work weeks. You have to dump everything else. You have to mortgage your house and home. You have to dump your job that's providing income or another business. Get real with that. The fact, one of the things that Stephen and myself we're co-founders here at InventRight, want people to understand is not just asking people to sign up for our coaching program and helping them, but just generally helping people realize that there's something called licensing out there and that you don't have to start a business. You don't have to spend $20K on a patent and $10K on a prototype and hundreds of thousands of dollars to venture and sell the thing yourself. And well, I don't have that money, so I can't do this. No, you can do licensing. And you can do it very cost effectively and put all that risk and all that work off onto the company. You still need to do work to make that happen, though. So I'm not going to say it's not smart to get a patent and then try to sell it yourself. I've seen people that were successful with that. For the average inventor, when I illustrate all the things you need to do, I won't go into that here because that's a long talk, to venture and sell a product yourself, most people are like, oh, I don't want to do that. I want to do that licensing thing. Like, now, that's our audience. but like 95% of the people that I talk to, our audience, they're like, oh no, I want to do licensing, right? But when people are new, like Royal Photography is here, people are like, oh, I got a whole nother model to look at. I got to make a choice here. And that is a choice. They're two completely different paths. And if you keep watching our YouTube shows, you'll realize the difference between those two paths. Um, I've done videos on that topic too. So you're welcome to check out, like, go on the InventRight channel and then go venturing versus licensing. And I guarantee you, Stephen and I have probably done multiple videos over the years on that. So that might be helpful for you and others too. NTV Californian, what if I filed a PPA and then proceeded to show my product to some companies? What half a company if a company files an NPA essentially? So, well, if you later filed a full utility patent, reference that provisional, you'd have that priority date from the date you filed the provisional. But here you use the word yourself. What if? What if? Inventors what if themselves into oblivion. So we could ask what if. Now, if you knew that in the 23 years we've been doing InventRight with students in 65 countries, of our students, not the public, people just watching our YouTube show or doing the stream, but of students, I don't know of a single student that got knocked off by the company they presented to. So if you want to worry about that, it's a normal thing to worry about up front. But when I give you that statistic that I've never had a student of ours get knocked off by a company they presented to, I've had people concerned about it. I go, well, here's something you can say to them because they decide they're not interested in your product. So you don't sound paranoid, but you put them on notice you're going to keep moving forward and monitor their website. And I've had many students over the years say that. And I've never had somebody come back, oh, yeah, they stole it. I've had fans and people I've talked to, they're like, oh, I got screwed by this company years ago or whatever. So you have to go with the stats, and companies aren't getting knocked off left and right. If you believe that, you're just falling prey to patent attorneys that are selling fear and just people's knee-jerk reaction to things too. People naturally are fearful. And first of all, they think patents will protect them. And then they're fearful of getting ripped off. So they're like, well, I'm fearful of getting ripped off. So logically, I'm going to get a patent. No, why would you do that? To spend, $8 or $10 or $20,000 on a patent, not knowing if there's any interest, that's insanity. When you could get a provisional patent and legally say patent pending for an entire year, it would never take you more than a year to see if there's interest. Right? So why take that risk? So NTV Californian, a company could file, but if they're not the first true inventor to file, you could. I'm not going to get into the legal details. You can invalidate things that they did. You can show the paper trail, all that sort of thing. I'm not getting into the legal details, but it's not something that I would be concerned about. Oh, the other part of your product is for my idea, and they're able to get through the system and get it approved. All the while, I didn't know. Well, if they're doing things and they're not the first true inventor to file, then you could later invalidate things. USPTO, no, I filed a PPA and I'm patent pending before they did ever look at the PPA. No, they're not going to look. So PPAs, the patent office didn't look at them. They're always accepted 100% of the time. They're not reviewing it. When a patent office gets a provisional patent application, they're just reviewing that you put your address down and you paid your fees. They're literally doing nothing. You could scribble on a piece of paper with a crayon, they'll accept it, okay? But it is your documentation that from that date, you protected that stuff. You later file a utility, you can reference that date. So when somebody's filing a patent, they're not looking at prior provisionals filed because provisionals aren't patents. They're not looking at that. That's not prior publicly disclosed art. So hopefully that's helpful. Informed info, perfect. Thanks for responding. Okay. NTV Californian, can that happen even if it's a long shot? All sorts of weird things can happen. You guys, over the years, I've seen inventors come up with the most bizarre scenarios. I've run InventRight for 23 years. I ran an inventors group for 14 years. I've had people come up with scenarios. I'm like, I've literally never even thought about that. And I've never seen that happen. And so when inventors get so creative on these rip-off scenarios or these situations that could happen, I think it's good that you ask it, get it out of your head, because you're getting obsessed with something that is like getting struck by lightning. So I think there's nothing wrong with asking these questions. Do I get a little tired of answering them? A little, but not really, because I know that if I answer it, it'll help that person move forward. Now, some people then go to from one paranoid thought to another paranoid thought. But what I've found is, you have a thought, and then I get remove that thought and go, and they go, that's like struck by lightning thought, and then you starts to change your mindset. So I really don't mind answering those questions because it helps people get real about things. So I'm always happy to answer those. Um, Margie said, "Hi Andrew, what do you suggest when we follow up with a manager twice over 2 months time, but don't hear back at all? I was given permission to send my video first, which I did. Email again." So yeah, I would email, and I wouldn't hesitate to at that point start emailing like once a week and offering help and doing the asking for a no email. So what's the asking for a no email? So I sent this to you 2 months ago. I've emailed you a couple times. If this product is not a right match for you, just simply reply not a right match. And some of you are listening going, well, why are you setting it up, Andrew, to get rejected? Well, trust me, they're not going to say not a right match if they like the product, but it's going to force them to look at it. And sometimes I think market managers think they're doing you a favor. Well, I don't want to reject this guy. They're not doing you any favors. They're messing you up by doing that. So you got to actually say sometimes, hey, if it's not a right match, just simply type not a right match, you know, and say that so they can make it easy for them to say no. Because they're not doing any favors by not saying no. Now, it's just normal. They're busy. They got tons of emails and stuff. It's okay to ask multiple times. So at this point, it's 2 months in. I would email every 10 days or so, and I would send the not a right match email. But when you resend, always show the paper trail and reattach the sell sheet. Don't go, did you get my email? And then you didn't attach it again. Really? They're gonna search for your email and then find the other emails. Oh my God, some people have no common sense. Never do that. So always reattach whatever you want them to look at. You let them kind of see you've been reaching out very patiently over a period of 2 months, and that's just part of the game. And see, here's the thing: that's not a big deal. That's normal. Normal. That's a normal thing to do. But if you got like this project number one, and you're doing that with 30 companies, and then you got project number two in your pipeline, and you're doing that with 25 companies, you're not sitting there being upset about that person that's not responding. You got more irons in the fire, more projects going. And so that's the mindset. I interviewed one of our coaches, Keanu, and our negotiation coach, who was his coach before he became when he became a student with us. Now he's a coach, licensed over 40 products. We talk about some mindset stuff. Those videos are really cool. You guys should check those out. He's a young guy too. I think Keanu is like 24 or so. He's a pretty young dude. So I think it'll really inspire you guys. That should come out on our YouTube channel pretty soon. Let's see. So thank you, Margie. Colton, thanks for answering, Andrew. I appreciate it. You're welcome, Colton. Willetta, what should always be included in an NDA for a graphic designer? Okay, so non-disclosure agreements are perfectly okay to have graphic designers sign those. To ask potential licensees to sign them, you're going to feel like you're beating your head up against a brick wall. That's not legal advice. Our students file a provisional patent application. But if you're working with a graphic designer, any graphic designer that does not sign your non-disclosure agreement, I wouldn't work with them. And if you really want to go, I wouldn't say overboard. I don't think it's overboard for a graphic designer. You can even throw an improvements clause in there that not only do they need to keep it confidential, but if they come up with improvement, you own it. It's called an improvements clause. So let's say they're working on the graphic design for your product. They're like, hey, what if we put a handle over here? Well, if they sign an NDA with an improvements clause, then you're going to own that improvement, even though they came up with it. So I would definitely recommend having a non-disclosure agreement. And the extra something I would add besides just a standard non-disclosure is an improvements clause. So what I'm sharing with you today is not legal advice. Please don't consider out legal advice. Please contact your attorney if you're looking for legal advice. But that's what I would personally do. Great question, Willetta. Royal Photography, you're welcome. Everything but the strip is their handle. Is it smart to pursue an invention that would only appeal to emergency personnel and not the masses? No, it would be very smart to do that. It's perfectly fine. So, all products aren't for consumers. Sometimes they're for businesses or for people in the trade or for first responders, like, ambulance, paramedics, or firemen or something. Like there's huge markets for this stuff. One category that's huge that people don't realize is food service. So there's a ton of food service. What is it? I'm trying to remember. It's like hotel and restaurant supplies. That's the right wording. That's what I was looking for. I had a long day. I stayed up too late last night. Hotel and restaurant supplies trump all dollar sales for all of retail. So now some of that is like napkins and things you use over, but hotel and restaurant supplies. So if you had a restaurant supply or something like that, that could be huge. I mean, how many restaurants are in the United States? So it's not all consumer oriented stuff. Think outside the box, guys. There's a lot of places where inventors aren't playing there and they're just not that creative. So you come in there and it's like, well, it's not even that creative. And they're like, oh, that's really cool. I really like that. Whereas in another industry like toys, which is really competitive, they'd be like, it doesn't have enough. Right. So sometimes going in these dinosaur industries where they're just not that creative. And I'm not saying that's restaurant supplies, but that's another side note. So yeah, if you got something for emergency personnel and not the masses, that's great. That could be fantastic. And some of those types of products, sometimes consumer stuff, maybe it sells 2-3 years, maybe it sells for 15. How many consumer products sell for 15 years? But sometimes the stuff that's like B2B or for emergency response or something like that, sometimes those can tend to sell a little bit longer because it's not as competitive. It's not like it blows up and then, okay, that's old news, move on to something else. It's not like an as seen on TV product or something like that. So it can continue to sell for a really long time. But it all depends on the product. So everything but the strip is your handle. Absolutely. You got a product in that area. It sounds fantastic. I don't know what the product is, but I wouldn't hesitate to go, oh, it's not a mass market product where they're going to sell a bazillion units at Walmart. But you'd be surprised some of those B2B or trade products can sell quite a bit. Let's see. Ray said Stephen Key is our other co-founder, got ripped off by Lego, and they modified his label design and was in court for 3 years. Am I wrong? So no, he was not in court for 3 years. He was in arbitration. Before it went to court, they settled, and all he can say is we settled, which means they gave him something. Okay, but Stephen, that was a really unique scenario. Now, first of all, that wasn't one of our students. That was our other co-founder. And yeah, that happened. Hasn't happened to him since, but so what? And he made a ton of money. Now, he also said he wouldn't have approached it the same way as he did back then. That he was getting really upset and, he ended up settling, but it settled before it went to court. He wasn't in court for 3 years. Almost none of us can afford court for 3 years, guys. It's at least $500,000 just to get started to sue somebody for patent infringement. That's why cease and desists are really nice. They get a patent attorney to send a cease and desist, costs you next to nothing. But to sue somebody in court and go to court, oh my God, it's crazy. Patents are just a right to sue. So yeah, and he got compensated. He could just say they settled before he goes to court. That's all he can say. I can say whatever, but I that's all he can say legally. So you get the idea, right? But if you want to look at an anomaly like that and go, well, case in point, well, now I'm going to be paranoid about my ideas. I'm not going to reach out to 30 companies. I'll reach out to 2. And I'm not going to file a provisional patent. I'm going to spend $40,000 on patents. You'll just end up screwing yourself, Ray. And I'm not saying that's what you're thinking, but you're right. Has any inventor ever had their idea modified or taken? Now, Stephen, if you asked him today, he would say he would look at it very differently. They just figured out a way around it. Now, do we see that happen to our students? No, but the packaging business, that was a packaging product, guys. Yeah, it was Lego, but it was a packaging product. That is a brutal business. It was the actual packaging that the toy went in. And they will try to figure out every way around you. So you better have really strong protection if you're going to be in the packaging business. But 95% of our students aren't in businesses as tough as the packaging business. I would say even 98. So there is a little tidbit of information. If you guys want to go into packaging, the package that products go into, that's not for the faint of heart, and you need more money to play in that area. So hopefully, Ray, that gives you some context there. So am I saying that no inventor ever get rips off and you should never even be thinking about it? No, of course not. You should think about all the different variations of your provisional to cover all those different variations of your product and cover yourself, create a paper trail, act professionally. No, I'm not saying that you should never think about it. Of course you should. But to be paranoid about it, to look at I noticed there was somebody that sent me an email today, and they said, "Oh, there's these guys, and they're always promoting fear." And they showed this long story about this inventor that got ripped off, blah blah blah. And they're like, "Andrew, have you seen this? You should share it with your students." I'm like, "I'm not going to share that with my students. That first of all, I don't know the whole story, because sometimes when you look into these stories, and you find out, because I've talked to inventors that say they get ripped off, and they tell me, and these are our students, and they tell me their story. I'm like, you act like a nut job, and I'm not saying that's right for somebody to rip you off because you act like a nut job. But I've talked to inventors that insisted on $1 million up front, $2 million up front. I'm like, what are you? And then they're wondering why the company ripped them off. Now, does that give the company a right to rip you off? Hell no. But sometimes, a lot of times, it's because of the way the inventor acted. And then you're forcing them to figure out a way around you. Maybe they spent like 8 months, 10 months working on this project, super into it, and then you're completely unrealistic. Does that mean you need to cave to their demands? No, of course not. But these are exceptions. They are not the rule. Let's see. Welletta said, "Thank you for clearing that up. Is there a template of a basic NDA? You can find all sorts of them on the internet. That's not what I suggest. We give some samples of NDAs with our students, both with and without an improvements clause. But technically, publicly, what I can say to you is you need to get one from an attorney. But anyway, thank everything but the strip is their handle. Thank you so much. You're welcome." NTV Californian, if I change my product's design or create a different model that my PPA still covers, do I submit a design patent or utility again? Start date is different for that look of the product. Okay, so if you come up with some improvement, you just file another provisional. And so if the provisional number 1 has A and B in it, then you take that same provisional and you add C. 3 months later, you have protection from A and B for that date, and you added C on this date, and they each go out a year. They're not connected to each other. But you can take that same provisional file again. Your thoughts on the design patent, there is no such thing as a provisional design patent. You need to file a design patent. No such thing. A provisional patent, you later upgrade to a utility patent. So a provisional patent is a provisional patent application for a utility. So for those of you that are new, you're probably like, my head's going to explode, but that's the basics of it. Yeah, Ethan said, adding on to Welletta, does someone on Fiverr need to sign an NDA? I believe they have their own terms. Yeah, I'm on NDAs. You need to be very careful with Fiverr. At InventRight, when our design studio does sell sheets or virtual prototypes for folks, we sign an NDA, of course. But with Fiverr, the terms of service actually, last time I checked, don't quote me on this, but I know back in the day, it was actually stating that the developer could use your work. Let's say they did a virtual prototype for you publicly as part of their portfolio, and you agree to those terms. So please, I don't know if that's still true with Fiverr. Please read that through. You don't want to get yourself in trouble with making a public disclosure. And I've had people have a lot of issues getting the Fiverr person to sign an NDA outside of that. And some of them, they're working so cheap, they're like, what's this? I don't know what this is. No, I can't sign that. I would be very, very careful about that. Richard said, has there ever been a case where the graphic designer is working on 2 of the same types of products, frown 2 separate people and not disclose that to you or the other? I don't really see that as being an issue. I think any professional that if they are have two clients that have something similar, they wouldn't talk about one to the other. You know, I think that would be a weird scenario. I've had students that were like, I remember the student that was working on a yoga mat, and another student that was working on a yoga mat, and they were kind of like somewhat similar, and I just didn't one to the other. I stuck to helping them with their list of companies and the outreach, and that's the professional thing to do. You don't, I mean, this is true of any professional organization that has clients. You never disclose what one client is doing to the other client. And when you see that there's some crossover, you don't help in that area where you're putting something from here over to there. You got to be very, very careful about that that's just being professional. That's just common sense. Um, so, Richard, I wouldn't worry about that. I've never had, yeah, never had that be a problem. Ray, thank you for clarification. Thank you for this particular service and valuable. You're welcome, Ray. Arturo, I had a friend that was, his name's Ray, and his wife would call him Ray. And so whenever I say Ray, which is your handle, I think of Ray, my friend Ray. And I think of his wife saying it with her voice. Anyway, so let's see. I don't see it. Well, Arturo, let's see. Okay, I guess I did it. Arturo said I missed his question. So I'll go back here. I don't know. I didn't see that one before, Arturo. Arturo said there is a hair fungus called white pedrea that is difficult to cure without shaving your hair. I put together 5 ingredients that cured it within 12 hours. Can I license this? Yeah, of course you can license it. You could keep it a trade secret, and you could also file a provisional patent application on it. That sounds amazing. Sorry, I literally didn't see it. I wasn't skipping that over. I'm not afraid of people with hair conditions or anything. Yeah, it sounds very licensable. Absolutely. Yeah, that would really suck if you had to shave your head to get rid of it. But with yours, you put these 5 ingredients together and it cures it within 12 hours. I could think of there are a lot of companies making shampoos and medicines and stuff that would love that. That's great. Okay, so Heidi said thank you so much for your time every Monday. So everyone, take care and keep inventing. Check out inventright.com. Down below, click subscribe, click the notification button, click the thumb button. I know I'm asking a lot, but if you could do all that stuff, watch more of our YouTube videos. Definitely click on subscribe and the notification button if you're not already subscribed. Don't click on it if you already are, because then they'll unsubscribe you. And if you do that, click on it again. Anyway, make sure to check out our free resources on our website. And then if you guys are interested, go to InventRight, click on Contact Us, and book a call with Dana or Sylvia. They're super friendly. They'll just talk to you about how we can help and how we guide and coach people all the time to license their products. And if you're not ready yet, just say, I just wanted to kind of investigate. I'm not quite ready yet. And they'll explain it to you. And they're both super friendly. So I want to remind everybody to take care and keep inventing. And we'll catch up with you guys next time. See you guys.